Hey guys, Darren Kelly here, coach of Wiseation Pods, and welcome back to another episode of our round review series. On today's episode, we will be reviewing round 14, which was the second to last bye round and probably one of the more challenging ones, as I think a lot of people had some pretty mediocre scores, as so did myself. Scored the 1741, round rank of about 18,500-ish. And moved up a whopping of 150 point ranking. So I guess moving in the right direction, but definitely not the sort of things I was anticipating. Would have liked to move up a little bit more, but you take it as you come. But where did we see some of the scores come from? So a lot of low scores again. As a common theme this year, it's been a very unusual year, I must say. We're not having many players go big at all, or not being consistent anyway. I think maybe the only one that's maybe been pretty consistent is maybe Max Gawn. He's consistently put up some big scores, but even him, he's put up some low 80s, which is a pretty good floor to have. But even the likes of Sarong, he's been pretty consistent all the year. He's hit a couple 80s, including this year. So, but it is what it is. We just take it, and everyone's copying it, so can't complain too much. Yeah, Luke Ryan was pretty disappointing. Just going through line by line here, 70. Just was a bit more accountable on today. Oh, not today. Sorry, this week. Just wasn't allowed to be free and be that quarterback that we sort of expect from him. I think Boston Bulldogs sort of just played someone on him a little bit more, just keeping him in range so they don't try and just tip it to him at all costs. So. But it was nice to see him at some point to be able to do that, and he did rack up at certain stages to get to a 70, which is obviously not ideal, especially for the players, coaches that brought him in this week. You're paying, over $1 million for a 70. That's just not ideal. But moving on here, we've got quite a few the 90s in the backfield, back line with Dacos, Clark, and Young, 98 and 95s. I was pretty happy with Clark, 95. He looked really good in this game as well. Obviously, I would have liked the 3 digits, but at the end of the day, it was a pretty safe bet. He had a break-even of like 50, so he went up 37k, over 900k now. Still quite lowly owned at 17%, so I think he'll be good for the remainder of the year. Got the Suns this week, and we know they can be quite easy to score against as well, so hopefully that is the case, but we'll wait and see on that one. I'm pretty happy with the trade in there. Whitfield went another 120, which is very pleasing to see. Really happy with what he's been able to produce, but he does this week have the tag coming up against James Jordan, so big one there to watch. And it was just pleasing to get another 120 in from him, as we thought it would be a bit of a tough matchup. Ari Shoremaker, I traded him in this week and was pleasantly surprised that he got a 74. I was absolutely taking that. Had him on the bench as an emergency and looped in between Toby Pink. Too many Tobys. So taking the 74 every day of the week, and he looks like a good trade-in. And I know he has a bye this week, but I guess people will be jumping on straight after. Or you can even jump on this week if you don't need the numbers. Midfield, again, shocking. Where do we start? Caleb Sarong, 80. When I just traded him in, thought he would have a bigger game. Really disappointing. Just didn't really look, about it. I don't really know why. I think the Doggies midfield just sort of dominated a little bit much, and that just didn't allow him to get his hands on the ball. So I think he'll be good for he'll be good for it for the rest of the year, but he's only going to be cheaper. So I think a lot of people will be jumping on him at some stage when his break even comes down a little bit. What is he owned? He's owned at like 20%, 22%, 23% technically. Yep. Bontempelli, high scorer of the round in the competition with a 142. Looked really good in this game as well. Obviously, he was a bit ill, and there was concerns that he wasn't going to make it. But I think he's quietly coming quite good. He's kicked 8 goals in his last 3 games, so he's definitely finding the sticks pretty easily. Getting a fair few marks. Starting to get his tackles numbers back to where they should be. So, really happy with how he's going currently. So, he is one I'm hoping in the back half of the year can start producing some big numbers consistently. Butters. 3 terrible ones on the trot, and I think all 3 of them he's been tagged in. Definitely got tagged by Liam Shield, definitely got tagged by Chin Cotter. Not sure if I would call the tag in this game as such. I didn't actually watch this game much, I wasn't really interested, but I think he got a bit of attention from... can't even put a name to a face, so I definitely think he got a bit of attention. So it's definitely becoming a bit of a pattern now that when they get tagged, they're losing, so I'm just concerned with him. And also some breaking news that's only just come out maybe 5 or 10 minutes ago for me, is that he's been offered a one match suspension for striking Tom Green. So I'm probably not thinking about that too much in terms of, I think he'll get off. I think they will appeal it and he'll get off anyway, because just looking at the vision, it's sort of both of them swinging at the same time, like just going for a sort of a body shot and obviously hitting Tom Green's arm and sort of going up at the same time, so, and cops him in the face with an open hand. So I think they'll get that off. They'll appeal it, and yeah, he should be fine. So I'm not really looking at trading him out. He could, if he does get suspended, he's definitely a trade out for me. He's not top 8 midfielders. He's been shocking. He's been tagged. He hasn't had the greatest year. Like, he's got a few 110s in here and there, but I think it's just an easy switch. His run isn't great either, so I'm just probably going to jump off of him if the match ban stays. So we'll make some adjustments there. Tom Green, 88. Again, disappointing, but was in a tougher matchup, so not too mad about that. Just, I don't know where his tackle numbers has gone. He's just gone missing, man. I don't know what he's doing. 2 tackles. 1 tackle last week. Had some there, 3, 4, 5s. 1. Just get back up to the, 6+ where you used to be. What are you doing? And yeah, he's got Sydney Swans this week, so another tough matchup. So not expecting anything amazing to come. 4 rookies here. Wasn't too displeased with 55s from Fraser and Billings. Not Billings. Dowling. And then I got a pretty kissed with Harvey Thomas's 67 in the end there, which counted for me. McRae's 15 was pretty annoying, but at the end of the day, he dropped off, so glad for best 18 there. What were the scores that dropped off for me? So I had the 15, had the 46, had a 55, 255 dropped off, so maybe they both didn't count. No, sorry, yeah, okay. One of the 55s drops off, that makes sense, yeah. So overall, my lowest score was 55, so I guess it's not too bad. English put up a 124, was pretty happy with that. Yeah, was a pretty favourable matchup, so was happy with them. Only 14 touches, but yeah, 9 marks, 6 tackles, and did kick 2 goals, so yeah, had a very good outing. The forward line is where it was very up and down. Obviously, started off the weekend with Zorko with a 125. Had him as VC, as most of the comp did. Ended up just taking that. I wasn't going to mess around too much. And evidently, rightly considering a lot of people would have gone into a Luke Ryan, which I think was number 2 on most people's captain's list. Sarong was up there as well. I'm trying to think of others that were in there. Yeah, not many others were in there that were worth considering. I had Fisher, which is a bit annoying, but whatever. Heaney, 125, he's been awesome all year. Actually been pretty consistent. He's probably one that I'm probably underrated a little bit. Hasn't dropped on a low 90 all year in what was a pretty tough match against my Hawks. So, yeah, really consistent, really liking what he's doing, and probably should give him a few more captaincy options given how consistent he has been. Fisher 71, got a bit of a, not attention I would say, I just don't, Collingwood didn't allow him just to roam off halfback and do whatever he pleased, so they just had to again put someone closer to him and not allow that free ball, so that's definitely a risk with owning someone like a backman like that. They can be shut down fairly easily, especially with that sort of game where it was sort of all in one half for majority of the game, then all the pressure was straight onto the defense in the second half when they started to come back, so yeah, really disappointing there. Jack McRae's going for me this week, so yeah, he's done. Tom Powell's also another one that I really want to offload this week. Looking at his CBAs, he's dropped down quite significantly. He's now down to 20% CBAs, just with a few of the match change up, even though Phillips did get subbed out in the end there. Yeah, I'm just done with Power, honestly. I can't be copying these 40s and 60s and stuff like that. So he will be going hopefully this week, as long as the likes of Butter stays. And besides that, Campbell, pretty nice rookie to have as a defense in the playing in the best 18, kicked a nice goal. Yeah, that's how my team went. So nothing too amazing. What are we looking like this week? Just quickly. Oh, how do I go back? There we go. So this is after trades, but not too bad. I've got 20 playing this week after trades, assuming everything goes to plan. Only a couple rookies in there in Toby Pink, Harvey Thompson, and a couple, one here, who I've traded in. Hoping he goes okay if he actually gets named. I don't know. Rookies are a bit of a tough one this week. So, team's looking pretty strong for this week in what will probably be a pretty limited numbers from my side. But I did have 18 prior to trades. So, these are my preliminary trades, I think. Jack McRae out, Tom Power, and Seth Campbell, just taking the money off his head. He's sort of done. Brought in Sammy Walsh. He's my main target this week. I think everyone should jump on him if you can. Or similarly, go to Merritt. If you don't have either of them, pick one of them. If you don't have either, then I'm not too sure who you'd be targeting. I haven't really looked that far. Rookies are the difficult one for this week. There's not a whole lot of options in my eyes. Especially, most of them obviously are around 15, and there's just no one. So we'll have to wait until teams are named, I think, before we find anything out about what rookies we should be targeting. I just know that he had a really killer week in the VFL. I think he had like 12 score involvements, 31 touches or something like that. So, looks really good, and hopefully he is being named. So, provided rookie option there. And I brought in Kobe McKercher. I think he should be good to go this week. He was listed as 1 week estimated time to return last week, so he could be a bit of a pickup for me this week, just given I don't have a huge amount of cash, but I've got 8k remaining, so he's all I could sort of get to with these 3 trades out. I may, obviously, if Butters is suspended, then I'll look to probably trade him out as well, whether he sort of takes Tom Power's spot and just hold Tom Power again. What's his break even? 99, goddamn. Yeah, or maybe I even go, instead of Seth Campbell, I go a Zach Butters instead. So, a couple of different options there I'm playing with. But let's get into the games, where we only saw 6 games, and that's probably something I really want to touch on. I know it's probably not fantasy relevant, but I just felt like there was no footy on this weekend. Like, I'm not sure how I feel about the buys. The buys are always a very weird time. For me, just doesn't feel like there's footy. Like, if there's not 9 games of footy, I don't know what's going on. So, that's my little side note. Right. Nope. Done. Sorry. Started my words today. I think I'm getting a little bit sick, so not ideal. Oh, what's going on? Come on. Load back in. Alrighty, so the Friday night game, we saw Brisbane beat St Kilda there in a nice big victory. So we had McCluggage, who went pretty huge with 132. He just pops up for these games. I looked at him as a bit of an option after this game, and looked and saw him score like a couple 80s and 60s in there. So wasn't super keen, especially with only midfielder status. Danaher just quietly is averaging close to 90 as a forward option. Has very high and some very low games, but that's what you get for those key forwards. Some more key options here that I should be talking about is Zorko, 125. Was probably a bit disappointing, I must say. I think a lot of the response from the community is that it was quite disappointing, because I think he was on like 88 at half time and sort of got shut down after that. Only had 40 points in the last half, where he was, having 40 points a quarter. So that could have easily been a 150, but 125, you absolutely take that. Wilmot's quietly had, back, I think 3 really strong games in him. Probably one I'm not looking for in terms of classic, just given, the uncertainty of what's going on there. With the backman, McKenna's obviously been trying to return, but then he's getting subbed out in the last 2 games, so don't really know what's going on there at all. So just one I'm not looking at. Dunkley, back-to-back shit scores. Just, 70 last week and 87 this week. Yeah, it's just a bit frustrating. And he went through this slump sort of last year as well in the back end. Just isn't hitting the tons, isn't, as thirsty as he once was. So I think he'll bounce back. He's been super consistent all year. He just had a low score. And a couple of rookies in Lohman and Reveal, who would have been really handy scores that would have probably counted for your field this week. Probably one I didn't mention there was Lockie Neal as well. Got tagged into with an inch of his life with Windhager on his tail. So, 50. He was on -2 at quarter time, which was a little bit funny. But he did crawl back to a 50. So, anyone that did pick him up a few weeks ago would be a little bit salty right now. But we'll move on to St Kilda. We saw Rowan Marshall, top score for them with a 105, which was quite surprising in all eyes. I thought with Tom Campbell coming in as a late in, I was very concerned for him, and he was on 10 points at quarter time. I was like, oh no, he's on for a 50 here, which would have been good for my side, but I know a few mates that have him and wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. So, you'd be very pleased with his 105. Only 19 hit outs, so it showed he played a lot more forward. Didn't kick any goals, which is a little bit surprising, but did have a nice 89% time on ground. So, he did all he could in the role that he played, which you'd be very happy with. Sinclair, 32 disposals, 1 mark, and 2 tackles. That is the weirdest stat line I've ever seen, and didn't crack the ton, which, unusual. Didn't really get their hands on the ball. Look at that. Just only 3 players went over 20 disposals. 94. It's okay. He felt like left a lot on the table for 32 disposals, but at the end of the day, it's better than a 80. So better than what most people got this week. Shawmaker, who should be on the watch list, I just haven't updated it. 74. Really happy with him. Looked really solid, and I think he'll have a nice 4-week block. Probably 2 weeks. Probably two more weeks worth of scores from him before the likes of Dougal Howard comes back into the side, you'd think. So it'd be a bit of a shake-up with what happens in 3 weeks' time if he stays. But I think his job security is pretty good for the next couple of weeks. Jack Steele, another dud score, 74. And I know a lot of people are trading him out this week. And look, I can respect it, honestly. It's just been shocking. Been absolutely shocking. We've had no consistent midfielders at all. These early guys like a Tom Green and Steele that really kicked your seasons off strong and were pretty consistent just have shut the bed now and are looking like they should be trade outs. But it's like, who are you going to? Who? If you already have the likes of some of the consistent guys like a Walsh, a Merritt, a Sarong, who should be in that category. I think those are probably the only 3 you can probably be consistent with. I think everyone else has been very up and down. So I probably missed a few names in there, but those, just for an example, those guys. So it's just one of these really strange years, and all the midfielders are just not scoring what they used to. So maybe it's start shifting what fantasy coaches should be thinking and start shifting to, okay, we need some more defenders, because that's something I've been heavily considering not this week as such, but just considering the weeks prior, that do I want these midfielders? They've been very inconsistent. I just thought that's why I went with Sarong last week, thinking that he's been really consistent and I'd be happy with his scores week on week. So another thought I've been thinking is, okay, these defenders are actually scoring quite well and being consistent. Who can I get in there? I obviously don't have it. She's on my side currently. Do I pick him up thinking, he's going to be pretty consistent in that role? He scored a 99 on the weekend, which we'll get into a little bit later. But, he is looking just like a 100 guy at the moment and probably could put up a ceiling score if they feed him a little bit more. But that's just some of the thinkings that I have in my head on a weekly basis. But I probably wouldn't act on it too much just yet. It still feels very alien to me to put a defender in the midfield status, because midfields are pretty valuable, or previously have been. But I guess maybe that's a bit of old brain thinking and probably should be a bit more adaptable. But back onto the game that we were talking about. Darcy Wilson put up a 70 for anyone that still held him. Would have lost a fair bit of cash because his break-even was like 105 or something like that, or 108. There it is. so would have lost a fair bit of coin there. And finally, Riley Bonner, 59, yeah, would have lost a massive amount of cash, 141 break even. And I know some crazy coaches that held him after the likes of Wangani Milera got dropped out. I probably wouldn't have done that, no matter the case. His role is not secure at all, so bit unlucky there for those that did that. And I think that's it for in terms of fantasy relevant people. Let's move on to the Saturday Arvo game. Just a quick one, guys. It might be a bit of a shorter video this week because we only had the 6 games, so should we get through this fairly quickly. Bontempelli, 142, we already spoke about him. 3 goals, 30 disposals, 8 marks, 5 tackles. Just a really good stat line from him and looked really good in that game. So hopefully this is signs of something to come for him. He's going to have a lower break even. English, again, only the 14 disposals, but 9 marks, 6 tackles. Definitely helps. 124. Nice to see him in some good form. Trelaw, probably one I've been really discouraging. Like, he's one I've been disrespecting so hard this year. Need to probably get him in as probably a target for me in the back half after his bye. So he's been really consistent. Like, if we just go quickly, he's the second most... for the guys that are not on my team, he's the second one that has the most points. He's averaging nearly 110. What is his lowest score? He dropped 83, 87, a couple 90s in there, but he's been really consistent majority. He's put some decent ceiling scores, like a 154, 137, 125. Like, there's some pretty good scores in there. So he might be a bit of a target for me. I might just have a look at his run. Looking at it, it's obviously good first matchup against North. Port Adelaide's tougher. Carlton are tough. Cats are really easy. Sydney are tough. Also got to look out for tags. I'm just losing my head with how many tags there are at the moment. I can't keep track of them all. But yeah, he's definitely one I could be targeting. Is a bit more expensive though. Going back. Dale, anyone that still has him would be very pleased. He's pushing top 6 numbers, so you're probably just holding there. Even though it's in his bye. Ed Richards, if anyone went back there after his injury, his return was pretty good. Probably one I'm not looking at anymore. McRae, definitely a trade up for me this week, and I recommend everyone to do the same. And then Fraser and Sanders there, if anyone's still got them, put up okay numbers and would have hopefully counted in your side this week. But besides that, maybe a Gallagher. Yeah, I don't think many people have him, but he put up a 31, so really disappointing there. On to Freo, a bit more fantasy relevant. Young was the highest scorer, the 98, so that just shows you how bad of a game this was for Freo. Not even cracking the 1,300 overall team score, so they just couldn't get their hands on the ball. They were getting dominated on all assets of the game. And yeah, I think they'll bounce back pretty heavily. So 98, you're not too displeased with that. Again, he's just been super consistent as well for what he's been doing. Bang on 100. What's his lowest score? 75 in round 1 and 80. So he's been, pretty consistent, but probably just hasn't shown the ceiling scores that we sort of expected. Well, 90, 100, 90, 100, 80. Yeah. Clark, a lot of people... I brought him in this week. 95. Like I said, pretty happy with that. Luke Jackson. Probably shouldn't mention him, but yeah, 91. Anyone still may hold him. Sarong, 80. Disappointing. Only 1 mark and 3 tackles. Like I said, I think they just got dominated at the midfield. I think he'll be fine for next week. Luke Ryan. 15 disposals. Just absolutely didn't get near it, and I don't think he even took many kick-ins is probably another concern I had. I think Clark took a lot of them. No, took 5 out of 5. I didn't see him much, so yeah, he still got that role. Three kick-ins for Clark and a few others for what's his name, Carl there. So he should be fine. Back him in. He's going to be top 6 from here. He's going to have some big ceiling scores, so wouldn't worry about too much there. For anyone that didn't grab him, just wait for him to bottom out now and pick him up after that. Nat 5 no one should have any more, but he put up another 43, but disappointing. And probably the talk of the town was Sharp for those that still held him. And yeah, probably just goes to show that yes, you can be in the form of your life, but then you can drop a very stinky score, especially with his role. And this is what I was really concerned about with when people are asking me, why are you trading him out? Don't do that. He's been, he's been averaging nearly 100 for the last 5 weeks. Well, he's a rookie at the end of the day. He can easily drop these scores. And yeah, did I expect it to happen so quickly? No. But did I expect it to happen eventually? Oh yeah. So yeah, glad I jumped off of him when I did in round 13. But I think that sort of does it for this game. We'll move on to the Richmond and Hawthorn game, which I did watch because I'm a Hawthorn supporter. So it was good to see them get the win over the Tigers in front of 90-something thousand at the G. That was a really good game to watch. Boys played well. So we saw Taranto score 127, and he looks quite impressive at the moment. He looked really good. So he's also one I'm looking at targeting just as a bit more of a unique in the back half. If I look at his numbers real quick, how has he actually been going? I know he's been fairly quiet. I know he's had obviously a big injury. Didn't start the season very well. Time on ground looked pretty impressive, like pretty much close to 90%, but a couple of 90s in there. 133 ceiling game and a 99, and has come back with a 108 and a 127. So he's definitely one I'm considering. Yeah, he just looks really good. Loves the tackle, so he's a bit thirsty for the ball. Gets his hands on the ball as well, so and gets some tackle marks. So yeah, at 2%, he's one that I may be targeting as well. No one else really here worth mentioning that I can see of. Baker, 72, probably pretty disappointing if you own him. Bolton, very similar, 69. Nothing really to mention there. Not really looking at either. Seth Campbell, as a rookie, would have been happy with, and hopefully, maybe would have counted for your side. And the sub in McAuliffe, very disappointing. Killed all his cash generation, actually went backwards this week. So he's one that could probably be traded out if you're trying to move on some of these guys. I definitely support the move of him. On to Hawthorn, no one really worth speaking of, I don't think. James Sicily put up a nice 137. He loves playing these guys. I think he's been very up and down. What's his scores actually been recently? I haven't really been keeping track of him too much because I'm still just waiting for that day to click where they throw an extra defender in there to help him out. But no, he's looking still pretty accountable. Couple back-to-back 90s, or 3 back-to-back 90s, and then dropped a low 79. So he's starting to get back in form a little bit, but probably one I'm still not, like 15 marks, he just is not sustainable. So one I'm still not looking at, especially got the bye this week, so not really worth mentioning. Amon, 87, if anyone still has him. Dylan Moore put up a 77, kicked a nice goal. Yeah, just is what it is. 70 in the forward line, I'm taking every day of the week. And all day would have been fairly people would have been annoyed if you had traded him in. Would have been a super easy matchup, and he just did not look to get amongst it as much. So only 20 disposals, couple tackles, couple marks, and had lower time on ground at 73. So yeah, a little bit disappointing there. And that's it for that game. Let's move on to the Sydney versus Adelaide game, where we saw Sydney run over the top of the Crows. We saw Lairdy play a bit more of a defensive role. He only had the 6 CBA, so really one I'm looking at some stage. Like, I don't know if I'll call him the main distributor, but he definitely had 34 disposals off halfback, 6 marks, 6 tackles, so I don't know if it was maybe just a game style. Obviously, he spent a lot of time in their defensive half, so that led the ball next to him a little bit more. So maybe it's one I'm still wanting to look at a little bit more. What's his price at? Oh, 842k. It is cheap. It is cheap. Break even of 83. I would not mind if people start to jump on this, just given how cheap he is and how good he can be. We've seen him as a halfback before. I'm just not sure if it suits him as much. Good time on ground as well, which is really pleasing to see. That was one of the major concerns which I was complaining about early on the season. He was getting 69%, mid 70s, but has really jumped up in the last couple of games with an 82, 82, and a 91. So yeah, really one that we should be heavily considering outside the bye. So make your adjustments now, and that's probably just another reminder. Always look forward to what you're doing next week, so you have enough cash to do what you want. We are back to 2 trades as of next week, so something to keep in mind there. Rankin returned and got injured again. I'm not sure what the injury is, but yeah, I'm probably not fantasy relevant anyway. Dawson put up an 84. Got a bit of attention from James Jordan. Probably wasn't a super hard tag as such. Jordan's pretty big for James Jordan, but he tried his best. But that's pretty disappointing for those owners there. My boy Saligo, who I traded out, put up a 76. So again, he's just super consistent with his 70s. So happy to see the back end of him. And McInerney, probably one I probably should mention. He got a lot of CBAs in this game. If we just look at the CBA count here, he got 67% there. So he was actually the first midfielder, which is very strange. Very, very strange considering, Dawson's in there. Sligo didn't even have that many with below 50%. Just looks like they were changing up a fair few things, which is probably why they got ran over in the end. They were looking pretty good in the first half, but in the second half they got absolutely smashed. So probably Nixie just changing too many things. Pretty disappointing. So maybe keep an eye on him. He hasn't put up anything significant yet as a midfielder, so one I'm not looking to jump on. And Dowling put up a 55. You're pretty happy with that. He's making some cash. But that will do it for the Crows. We'll move on to Sydney. Grundy, he's looking like he's back in Australian form, honestly. He's just quietly put up 4 back-to-back tons. Yeah, and this is what we sort of expected he could be at the start of the season, and why I was so heavily on starting him. So I guess there's a bit of a justification there for me. One thing that has been pleasing at his time on ground has been improving. He's back up to 80%, which is where you want to see it, rather than this low 70%, which was really frustrating at the start of the year when he was getting benched twice in a quarter. So, yeah, glad to see the back end of him, but also, glad to see that he's actually improving. So anyone that's still holding him, which is still saying 32%, I don't think that's 32% actually holding him, but you'd probably just hold him. I don't think you're going to get too much benefit out of going to the top line, Ruckman and Grundy. No, not Grundy. Yeah, Gawn and Marshall, Marshall in itself is a very confusing one with Campbell coming in, and he's dropped a fair few low scores anyway. So just hold Grundy, and I'd probably be the same with Cherry as well, who we'll get into next match. Gordon would have been a great trade in, has been really good in the last 2 games. Bit of hindsight for me if I traded him in instead of who did I grab last week? If I grabbed Zorko this week and not last week, then I'd be so much better off. And it's probably something that I just haven't nailed this year, just not trading in the right players at the right time and getting those ceiling scores. Trying to be a bit different, I guess, in terms of while I'm so far back, I'm trying to be a bit different. But his last month of footy's been really good. Just having a look here. 116, 119, 151 and 127. Awesome. Just amazing. So, yeah, anyone that jumped on, you'd be very happy. He does have a tough matchup this week, so wait and see. But, yeah, now he's spending over $1 million, so bit of a missed boat, unfortunately. My God. Isaac Heaney, I don't think we need to talk too much about him. He should win the Brownlow. If he doesn't, I'll be very surprised. Taylor Adams put up his first pretty nice score. I don't really think it was too much to think about. I didn't actually watch this game. So, what did he do? Rolls exactly the same, so nothing I'm really considering there, but just something to keep an eye on. That will sort of do it for this game. Only 3 relevant players there. Moving on to North and Collingwood, where Collingwood beat them by 1 point in a bit of a controversial call, but we won't talk about that. Wardlaw absolutely killed it in the first half in this game. I think he was, absolutely flying. Had 22 disposals and just got sort of clamped in the last bit, just a bit on top. He is definitely going to be a star of the future, so he's definitely one I am keeping my eyes on in future years because we know how good he can be. Just this time on ground is what is really concerning. I'm actually quite curious because I was quite hot on him at the start of the season. How has he been going? What's his name? Wardlaw. So he's up 140k of the year. His first ton in the year, which is surprising. But putting up some nice 90s, 80s. Did have some stinkies, 60s, 49. But it's been okay. I do think he will be a superstar of the future. So one I'm definitely looking at some stage. Cherry, nice 107. You'd be happy with that. Kicked 2 goals, even with the likes of Teagle coming in and helping the ruck a little bit more. I was a little bit concerned for him, but you're just holding Cherry, I think, now. You're not getting as much benefit from trading him out, so just hold him. I think that he's been an awesome pick and one I definitely missed out on. LDU 100 for those that traded him in a couple weeks ago. You'd be happy with that. See 3 figures. Sheasel with a 99. Yeah, he just gets it done no matter what he's playing. So 18 disposals, 3 marks, and 7 tackles, which was pleasing. What he's got, team higher tackles, which shows he can score in multiple assets, whether that's bulk marks or some tackles or just clean disposals. So yeah, he's just going to be a fantasy god for us for a long time, I reckon, as long as he stays in the correct role. Fisher put up a 71, so pretty disappointing at the end of the day, but I did say he wasn't allowed to have that cheap ball off halfback, so had to play a bit more accountable, and it was sort of like a I'll stay on you, you stay on me sort of situation, so he wasn't able to get out the back and just take those +6s for days, so he'll be fine. I'm not too concerned there. And then the 2 Pink and Power boys down the bottom with 40s, really disappointing. Pink, at the end of the day, is still making money. We had a break even of 18, but at the end of the day, he's not even up to 300k yet, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference. But Power, he needs to go, and his role is just dramatically changing, so I'd recommend jumping off. If anyone that jumped off him at round 12 would be very pleased at the moment. Crispy put up a 108, so again finished up a really strong month of footy, probably the last 6 weeks of footy, and is skyrocketing. Now on the break, so I think it's a hold. You're not trading him. I don't think he's been too good for that. Nick Dacos scraped to a 98. Was at 101, but I think he got a kick taken off of him. Just had a bit of attention in this game from a Phillips, but Phillips got subbed out, I think, halfway through the 3rd term, and then he just absolutely blitzed it to get up to that score, so that was good to see. He recovered there. The 3 rookies down here in Finlay, Sullivan, Dean, and Harrison all scored within the 40s, so probably didn't count for your side and really killing the cash generation a little bit, so a bit disappointing. And then down the bottom there, Kruger was probably another one that a lot of people jumped on this week, put up a 41, so probably didn't even count for you anyways. I'd be very surprised if he stays within the side post-buy, but we'll have to wait and see. Jaff was one that had a debate this week. 27, so nothing really worth jumping on, I don't think. I'm not too confident with his job security there. And then Finlay McRae, subbed out at halftime on 15. Only the 6 disposals, so that's really disappointing. On to the last game where we had GWS versus Port Adelaide, where GWS got the win there. Whitfield, nice 120, back-to-back 120s, so he's just getting it done. Had a nice 9 tackles, so just really was thirsty for those tackles for some reason. Was the highest tackler on the game, so really unusual. Really, really unusual. Wouldn't have picked him. Tom Green, we talked about his 88, so just repeat on week. Agwin, for anyone that had to jump to him. That's probably something I didn't mention in the North game, was the Simcombe thing. So Simcombe was a late out with a bit of a hamstring injury. Don't know where they picked it up from, but yeah, that was a bit of a pivot move that a lot of coaches would have had to made during that game. So you had an hour to sort of pick where you wanted to go. I think a lot of people really struggled for options, obviously only having the one sort of game after it. So I think a lot of people sort of just went either to a Rosie or went to a rookie and an Angwin or something like that. So really disappointing, really unlucky for those owners that were looking at it, because it was a decent option, bit risky for mine, but it didn't pay off, unfortunately. Thomas, very kissed for me, put up a nice score, happy with him there. McMullen was a sub again, put up a 3, killed all his cash generation now. Malia, if anyone jumped on him a few weeks back, 45, again, wouldn't have counted for you, or shouldn't have counted for you. But under Port Adelaide, we had Houston go with a 133. What's wrong with these games at the moment? It's such low scoring. I don't know what's going on. Only 2 players over 100. Well, Farrell, I guess, got 100, but yeah, not many scores going big at the moment. Houston been actually pretty solid all year. One that I haven't really been considering, but just keeping my eye on because we know what he can do. But has dropped a few 80s. I dropped a 70 there, 71, 73, 75 for the year. So it does have those low games, but then does have some ceiling games with 136 and 133, 119. So if you want to be a bit different, then go for it. 8% owned, surprisingly, but yeah, one I'm probably not heavily considering at all. Rosie's probably the one we need to speak about a little bit because he is ridiculously cheap. And I know a lot of people that are jumping on him this week, given that, you're struggling with a bit of cash, probably jumping off, say 3 rookies or something like that. You can get up to a 700k player. I don't mind it as an option, just it doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence because, it did only score the 72. It wasn't like he was, fantastic. I think if he scored like a nice 100, then it was probably like he forced the hand. His break even would have been sort of a lot lower, but I still think he can wait a week. I don't think he's going to be hitting 130. And if you're really trying to play the salary game, you're really trying to catch the bottom of it. I don't even think his run is anything particularly good to look at. So just looking at some scores here, could cop a bit of a Windhager tag in this game. Doggies are pretty tough in terms of just if they get the midfield juice. We saw they did to the Freo boys. Don't think Brisbane Lions are too bad. Again, Suns are pretty restrictive in the midfield as well. Carlton, Sydney, Melbourne. It's not a good run, so that's probably another big factor of why I may even trade out Butters, just in the case that he does come through. But yeah, probably one I'm not particularly looking at. He may get to a point where he's cheap enough that I'll just jump on him anyway, trying to, just be like a free premier at the end of the day if he can push his numbers back up to 100. But one I'm probably not particularly pleased on this week. But if you're, tough situation, and that's all you can get to, then absolutely you can do it. We already spoke about Butters. He should be fine. Hoping he bounces back, but who knows? He's just very susceptible to the tag at the moment. I mean, I could recommend jumping off of him. And besides that, McEntee down there, anyone that had him, 32, not anything to look at. But I think that will sort of do it. 43 minutes, and not much else to talk about, I don't think. I'm trying to think about what else to do. Again, it's just rookies. If we're going to have a look at the rookie options this week, just quickly go into stats, go into break even. So looking at break evens is the best way I like to look at with rookies. So obviously we have Joe Richards, who's on the bye and he's injured at the moment, so we can't trade him in. Next lowest break even that currently I don't have is Joel Amadi, which he is priced at 474k. You're not picking him up. He's kicked 9 goals and scored 131 disposals. Only had the 10 disposals. Sorry, so not one I'd encourage people jumping on. Biggie's not playing. Menzie is a bit more expensive at that 345k, break even of 3. Up against West Coast though, so he could probably kick a couple goals. Just not super confident with his job security. He has been the sub in certain occasions this year, so and is acceptable to putting down these really low scores like an 18, 17. So I'm not sure one I really look to jump onto. Euland is there, but he's more priced at 550, so you probably can't get to him. Patrick Voss isn't playing. Vizentini isn't playing. I don't think Warner will keep his role. I'd say who was the laid out? Chapman is out with a hamstring injury, so maybe he does. Maybe I'm just being a bit mean there. He maybe be one we could consider, but here's again 320k. Sean Manners not playing. Kruger's on the bye. There's just really not a whole lot of options. So we're really going to be at the mercy of who is named on Thursday night. That's probably what I'll be considering a lot, just going there. But for now, I've just thrown in a random rookie who I think will be named, but I'm not super confident with it. It's just one of those weeks, which is really disappointing because when my initial trades wasn't going to be to trade Tom Power and was going to be 2 rookies off. So I was finally going to get off a Garcia, who's a red dot, but on his bye, and get up to 21 on field. But I think the only way I can get to a certain sort of mid-price at Primo is by jumping off the likes of a Tom Powell and giving me that extra money. So I'm not bringing in 2 rookies this week because I think that's sort of a killer this week, that you're not going to probably have 2 rookie options that you're going to be confident with that are going to hold their job security. So, which probably leads me into another back end of the season sort of thinking, is that not every player that you now trade in needs to play for the remainder of the season. You can have these red dots in each line to start looping. So this is something that I've typically done in the past, where now that, I've got, say for example, I've got 6 primo or 5 primo defenders, then sort of 2 rookies that I'm sort of chopping and changing each week, then I can loop between them for the remainder of the season before I get the main upgrade and start having a full primo team, which most people will probably have towards next week sort of thing. I think my side's probably a little bit behind that. Well, I've got full backman, 6 primo midfielders and McKercher. Rucks are fine, and my backmans are pretty good. I'm probably just missing an F6 who I'm really struggling for right now. So probably still having 4 rookies on field, which is 3 rookies on field, which isn't great, but hopefully it's not gonna be that too bad, because I will pick up another primo next week more than likely, unless trades don't let me. But yeah, I'll probably have 1 to 2 2 rookies on field. Sorry, blabbering a little bit and stuttering words, but I think I'll sort of do it this week. Again, I'll have my trade video a little bit later this week, probably Thursday at some stage. Who are people trading in this week? So Merritt is number 1. People jumping on Shawmakers. People jumping on Salem and Ruzi as a bit cheaper options. Walsh, I think he's a great target. Sexton, bit concerned there with him, what his role is going to be like with Weller back. So maybe I wouldn't jump on this week. Not concerned he's even going to be picked, but we'll wait and see on that one. And then a couple of people just jumping on a few cheaper rookies in a Hall, a Warner, a Laurie, stuff like that. So overall, it's a pretty tough week for trades, I think, for a lot of coaches. So, just do your research. Try and keep an ear out for all the team news, especially with around the Zach Butters thing. Check if there's going to be any debates. And, I'll bring you all the news on Thursday, and hopefully can help with some trades then. So, but I'll leave you guys to it. Hope you guys had a great week, and I'll catch you later on the week. Bye.